I mean, it's crazy to think, coming off of the Wii U, this turnaround that Nintendo has had with the Nintendo Switch. There's no real examples of this in the gaming industry where you've had a system that has underperformed to a great magnitude, and then they've come back with their what will eventually turn into their best-selling gaming device that they've ever released, because that's what I believe the Switch will become for them. I think sometime next year in 2025 it will surpass the Nintendo DS. So it's such a success story for Nintendo to go from a 13 million selling Wii U to 150 plus million selling Nintendo Switch. But a big factor that also plays into that is the fact that they combined their handheld division with their home console division and made a hybrid system. I mean, they could not have conjured up a better scenario. This is the healthiest that Nintendo has ever been going into a transition to new hardware. Even more so than the Nintendo DS to the Nintendo 3DS. You would think that would have been the most healthiest, but it actually did not turn out to be that good. You look at the launch of the 3DS and it didn't go over that well. It was overpriced. The software wasn't there at launch, and it ended up selling half of what the DS did in total hardware sales. And even the Switch at this point has surpassed the DS in total software units sold. I think it's at like 1.3 million or somewhere around there. I might be a little off on that. But it certainly has passed up the DS in total software when it comes down to its run so far. It's so impressive. I don't think Nintendo has gotten enough credit for this turnaround, and I have no worries going into the launch of Switch 2 or whatever they're going to call this thing. I think as long as they price the system right, market the system right, and have the right software right out the gate, there's really no worries whatsoever. I think this thing's going to just absolutely take off. 10 plus mil first year or so. It might even outdo Switch for that matter in its first year if they make enough of these things. The thing is, it doesn't just come to that day one killer app game. Like if there is a big new 3D Mario or new Mario Kart, whatever it turns out to be day one to launch the system, to launch alongside the system, to sell the system, there needs to be more than that, obviously. It didn't just come down to Breath of the Wild for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, Breath of the Wild was the game that really sold the system right out the gate. Sure, it sold a ton of units and was really what enticed people to pick up this system because it was such a huge game and it's very transformative for the Zelda IP. But look at how they followed Breath of the Wild up over the next 8 months or so, right? A slew of first-party software and some third-party stuff as well, right up until the very end of the year, March to December. And I've said before, I mean, it could be 3D Mario, it could be new Mario Kart. It all comes down to, Nintendo has to weigh these options. What's going to be ready in time to launch the system with, right? What game will be ready, will be polished and ready to go, but do they want to launch the Switch 2 with a big single-player experience or a big multiplayer experience? That's the big question right out the gate. I mean, obviously with Breath of the Wild, it was that big single-player experience, but then they followed it up with a big multiplayer experience in the following month with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And then over the course of the summer, we got other big multiplayer experiences, Splatoon 2, ARMS, new IP, and other single-player experiences with a nice mix of both, right? And then they capped the year off with Super Mario Odyssey in October of that year, of the launch year for Switch. And there's probably going to be a lot more third-party, I would like to suspect, within the first 8 months as well. I think Nintendo might actually take a back seat and polish up their hardware to really prepare for a big 2026, while third parties take the forefront in 2025 and kind of carry this. Sure, there'll be first party as well, outside of 3D Mario and whatever. But maybe not as much in terms of volume. I'm starting to kind of backpedal on that. You had ARMS, you had Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors, you had Mario and Rabbids, you had Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I mean, when you really add it all up, there was a lot the first 8 months for Switch. But maybe there won't be as much. There'll still be a good amount of first and third, a nice mix, but maybe not as much first-party games. And they may take the time to really polish up a lot of games for 2026 to really capitalize on a huge 2026, while third party can shine for Switch 2 in that first 8 months, right? I think maybe that is something I'm starting to think may occur at this juncture. And then you got to take into question any cross-generational releases. Is Pokemon Legends EA going to be on Switch 2? Is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond going to be on Switch 2? Or are these still just solo-based Switch games? You know, these are huge games. People say Metroid doesn't sell, but I've said before that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, this is a big deal for Nintendo and the Metroid franchise. A big deal. This is a game that's been in development for 7 years, or maybe even more at this point. I don't know the exact. I mean, it was rebooted in development. It has a huge budget behind it, and a bunch of wizards working on it in Retro Studios who've never made a bad game, in my opinion, ever. Both Donkey Kong Country games, Metroid Prime 1 through 3, they worked on Mario Kart 7. They've had their hands. I don't think they made Metroid Prime Hunters. But if you look at their track record, I mean, literally masterpiece after masterpiece. Phenomenal games. And I expect the same thing with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It's a big deal. This is a game that needs to sell well. I think a lot of people will play this game, will dive into Metroid for the first time, without even playing the other games. Yes, Metroid Prime Remastered is on Switch. You have the opportunity to pick it up, play it before Prime 4 releases. There's still a question on whether or not Echoes and Corruption will release on Switch before Metroid Prime 4 Beyond drops. That could still happen, because for all we know, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond could be a late 2025 game. We don't know, right? So that could still happen. But if it doesn't happen, and we're going into Metroid Prime 4 with just Metroid Prime 1, which I don't even think will happen. I think they need all 3 games on Switch. You know, I think they really should. But if, for whatever reason, it doesn't happen, I still think a lot of people will play the first one or just jump into the 4th one without even playing the others, right? And there's examples of this. The Witcher 3 is probably the best example I can give. That game came out and had so much hype behind it that a lot of players just dived right into Witcher 3 without ever playing the other 2 games. Or they went back and played the other 2 after playing the 3rd one. So there are examples where there'll be a 3rd entry or a 4th entry in a franchise that, you know, we may start out with, and then we may go back and play the others, right? So it's a very interesting scenario. But yeah, so just to sum up this video, I think this transition, this is the healthiest. Again, this is the healthiest Nintendo has ever been financially, in terms of momentum going into new hardware. So again, as long as they price this thing right, they market this thing right, and have the right software right out the gate, there's no room for error. I do not see another Wii U situation by any stretch of the imagination. I think this thing's going to hit with a bang. It's going to sell like crazy. It may even be hard to get your hands on one, just like the good old Wii days, if they don't make enough of these damn things, and if they can't counter scalpers. So I'm excited. You know, I can't wait to see this teaser reveal, this inevitable Switch 2 teaser reveal, and what they're going to have in store in terms of software. What kind of software they're going to actually show off in the teaser. Will we see more of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? Will we see a glimpse of the next 3D Mario, the next Mario Kart? What are they really going to show off in the reveal trailer? Will Elden Ring be there, kind of like a contrast to Skyrim, right, or something, you know? So I think there's a lot to look forward to. I think the Switch 2 reveal is right around the corner. Could happen next month. Even if it is as late as January, it's still right around the corner at the end of the day. It's a few months away. I think there's a high probability it would happen before that. It could happen next month, November. But yeah, it's coming. I think we should just be patient. I'm patient. I know it's coming. When Nintendo's ready, they're going to drop this teaser, and I think they're going to blow away the gaming community with what they have in store with this new device and with their new software, and how good their first-party games are going to look on Switch 2 as well, visually. I have no concerns. I mean, some Switch games, Mario Odyssey is still, one of the best-looking Switch games, HD 3D Mario game. So I can only imagine what the next 3D Mario game is going to look like, and what the next Xenoblade Chronicles game is going to look like. And so that's all. Just wanted to spitball about this transition, this inevitable transition that's on the horizon, and how impactful overall I think it will be for Nintendo moving forward. Thanks for listening.